Good evening, everybody. It's a bit of a surprise tonight with an extra Phantom Brigade stream. Now, there's a couple reasons why this is happening, but let me just take a second to jump into the game. Let me make sure everything is working the way that it should.
All right,
then,
so
then we will I'll sort out the housekeeping in terms of just explaining what's going on here. But I am going to need a minute to properly set up. In particular, I'm hoping that the version that I have running... So normally, I will stream this a day after the update comes out. So I'm running the risk that I may not have the most up-to-date version of the game. So I want to get that sorted before we start doing things like patch notes and all those details. Or I'll just sit here and enjoy the... Enjoyed the silence. What's going on? So I'm just bringing up my processes on my computer right now because it looks like... Come on, Epic. Oh, here we go. Something's happening. Spoke too soon. Yeah, I just had a screen pop up and then darkness. Oh, now it's back. Sorry, there's no point in stopping the broadcast at this point because I'm sure it will resolve itself, but there we go. And it looks like we've got the right build. Okay, welcome to the Brigade. We're excited to have you experience Phantom Brigade and to have your help shaping its development during its early access period. During the course of development, some aspects of the game might feel rough, sparse, or buggy. Every month we'll release a major update, which will include bug fixes, new features, and quality of life improvements for players. We appreciate your patience and feedback throughout this process as we work to deliver the most important features and fixes. From the main menu, check out the early access roadmap to see what's coming next for Phantom Brigade. Reach out to us via the Brace Yourself Games Discord community or read the latest patch notes for the latest changes and known issues. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to making Phantom Brigade better and better with your help. Finally made it. A very small percentage of people may experience a seizure when exposed to certain visual images, including flashing lights or visual patterns. These seizures may have a variety of symptoms, including lightheadedness, altered vision, eye or face twitching, jerking or shaking of arms or legs, disorientation, confusion, or momentary loss of awareness. Immediately stop playing and consult a doctor if you experience any of these symptoms. If you or any of your relatives have a history of seizures or epilepsy, it is recommended that you consult a doctor before playing. I think if they can just maybe balance out the time between those two windows, will be good. So, welcome to Phantom Brigade. We are going to be experiencing Update 18, the New Hope update. So, I'm a huge fan of Phantom Brigade, and normally, though, I will be enjoying it on Wednesday, and there's a couple of reasons why I'm streaming the game tonight. So first of all, it's Tactical Tuesday, so traditionally, Brace Yourself Games will be releasing the updates to their early access games, which are currently Phantom Brigade as well as Industries of Titan. So those will normally get Tuesday releases, and of course my streaming schedule is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And so normally what will happen is I will broadcast the game a day after the update has been released. What's different this time around is that I've got Old World. And in fact, Old World is going to be getting a Steam and GOG release on the 19th. And there may be something that comes up tomorrow. I'm not going to speak too loudly about it, but with that in mind, I was very pleased by the response that everybody had for Old World, but I don't want Phantom Brigade to sort of wind up playing second fiddle to it. And so I sort of got an idea that people did want to see some more Old World. And I decided that maybe the way that I would handle it this time would be to add an extra day for streaming, but not add an extra day for Old World, but add an extra day specifically for Phantom Brigade, and then, do some extra days for Old World. And then, of course, later on down the road, we can also do some extra days for Phantom Brigade. But I want to at least make sure that I'm trying to do one of the Brace Yourself games once a week. Now, with that in mind, one of the reasons why I like doing these Brace Yourself games and sort of giving them their own special spot in the week is that they've given me a copy of this game for promotional purposes. So that's true for Phantom Brigade as well as Industries of Titan. I'm very grateful that they did so. I am a huge fan of both of them. And of course their previous work as well, in the form of Crypta the Necrodancer. But it is, of course, important to kind of disclose those interests. So consider yourself informed. We are now going to take a look at the roadmap and the patch notes. So we've got overworld rework, campaign rebalance, quality of life improvements, and updated events in the rearview mirror. I believe combat replay. I think this is an indicator that combat replays are kind of a work in progress, and I suspect they're going to be a work in progress pretty much to the end. Coming up, base upgrading 2, overworld visuals, overworld rework 3, more events, combat variety. Further down the road, combat visuals, pilot features, Steam playtests, improved UI and quality of life. And at the tail end, optimization, pilot features 2, new player experience, set-piece battles, and localizations. Incidentally, the capital battle is a really good example of what we can probably look forward to for the set-piece battles. But before I go too much further, I'm going to take a minute here to open up the patch notes. And as much as I enjoy the wonderful soundtrack, thank you, Riley, I am going to mute it for a second so we can enjoy the trailer. Let's make sure. Usually YouTube sort of cheats me on resolution.
Hey Brigadiers, this is Adelaide Jenkins, Creative
Hello,
Director
Adelaide.
on Phantom Brigade. Our 18th update, A New Hope, is packed with more war and campaign features, further developing the ways in which the overworld interacts with combat. Let's dive in. The Phantom Brigade can once again inspire hope. With high hope, the Home Guard can keep up the fight longer in contested provinces. The choices you make in events can impact the levels of hope across your homeland, as well as your reputation with the Home Guard. Have enough of both and you might just get some extra backup in a fight. If you engage in battle near another enemy on the world map, nearby forces may join the fight. Also, if the Brigade manages to take every military base in the province before contesting it, the enemy will now deploy temporary bases to keep fighting. There are new upgrades available for your mobile base: Decoy Drones to scout and distract the enemy, smoke charges to stun enemy patrols, and combat modifiers to change the upcoming fight. You can now stop the enemy from calling for reinforcements, block scans to make enemies drop their guard, or even call in your own reinforcements from the Home Guard. We've also made a ton of visual changes and additions to the overworld to accompany the new features, as well as various new events to encounter while traversing it. These features, along with lots of bug fixes and quality of life improvements, will arrive for all players on Tactical Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. You'll always find updates from us on the third Tuesday of the month. Expect to see the long-awaited combat replay feature and more in our June update.
What?
See you on the battlefield.
Oh man, you could kind of hear the laugh too at the end. Oh god. Combat replay next month? Oh god, I've got so much work that I need to do that's due for next month, so I don't want to see the month go by really quick, but that's very exciting. So and I'm hoping that the laugh in the background was in sort of in that spirit. So that's very cool. I actually kind of I've got two feelings about the update. So Brace Yourself is really good at trailers, so it's definitely really fun to see the very I don't want to call it bombastic, but the very action-packed kind of trailers that they used to do for Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade. I think they do a really good job of sort of helping, establish some of the fantasy. But the informative trailers, which I think started with Industries of Titan and have been true for Phantom Brigade for the last couple as well, I think do a really good job of establishing some context and being, I think they're probably a little more helpful. I also kind of wonder if, I suspect there might be the judgment that maybe a sort of a sales kind of thing. So like, when you have these action-packed trailers, that's kind of a little bit more about getting people interested in the game. So I wonder if maybe there's just a question as to whether or not you need like new visuals every month. That might have been it. Anyways, I'm happy to see both, but obviously the news about the upcoming combat replay is very exciting. So, patch highlights: high hopes, more war and campaign features, including a revamped hope mechanic. Get on base, new mobile base upgrades, and a new world view. Lots of beautiful VFX updates and more. Actually, on that note, this was true for Industries of Titan as well, but it's always an interesting experience to just see what a lack of imagination I have about some of these games. So when I first played Industries of Titan, I sort of imagined it as being this very maybe minimalist approach to a city builder that was really, beautiful and very interesting. But I was sort of thinking almost kind of like how you could almost sort of think of Into the Breach as kind of like an indie XCOM, which again is not a knock against Into the Breach at all. It's a wonderful game. But it's obviously not XCOM 2, which has got lots going on in it and clearly is the product of a very large team working very hard to sort of realize this big sequel. And of course, that's not what Industries of Titan is. What I'd failed to appreciate at the time when I first played it was all of the development that would be happening over time, and the fact that it's much more kind of like these simulations, so kind of a surviving Mars or a Dwarf Fortress. We talked about the comparisons yesterday in terms of how that can sometimes be a very limiting way of looking at games, but it's sometimes you work with the framework you have, right? So it's kind of similar in terms of Phantom Brigade. So the focus for a very long time had been on the tactical battles. I've gotten very used to having this group of four units moving around and kind of fighting this insurgency. And with the Overworld updates, we now have the idea of the contested province, which we haven't actually done yet. That'll definitely be happening this stream, though. And what's kind of interesting is that I commented on the trailer originally was, it's really interesting to sort of have this idea of participating in this larger event and sort of coming in right at the moment where, people are under, where it seems like all hope is lost and the Phantoms come in and save the day. There's something really exciting about that. And then just taking a look at the map now in that trailer, you can really see lots going on. So even though these are still things that you're initiating from the base, the drones moving by and the uprising, even just having things like reinforcements coming in and all of these little details, I think really kind of helps give the impression of a much wider conflict than maybe I'd appreciated from the earlier moments. Now, again, I think this is probably as intended. I don't think I'm not going to go home. Well, I'm already home, but I'm not going to like go to bed and cry myself to sleep because I couldn't have anticipated what it would feel like with more development in the overworld. But it's a wonderful example about how these games have sort of shifted a little bit over time, and how I may be learning a little bit about how limited my understanding of the overall vision was. And it's exciting to see the game grow into something even more interesting and big. How you doing, Olaf? Good to see you. I'm I'm sacrificing my Tuesday so that I can have Old World tomorrow. Not that it's a chore to do Phantom Brigade. I should also mention that there's going to be a Dirty Rectangles meetup tomorrow, so I'm not 100% sure whether or not I'm going to be able to put the extra time in for Old World. Anyways, let's get on with the patch notes. I know that is the highlight. The gameplay is really secondary. So As always, the metal arm indicates changes due to community feedback. VFX Updates. We've retextured the overworld entirely, making it more detailed and more beautiful. Contested provinces now have the following: a column of smoke over the province currently at war, craters and destroyed terrain displayed on the overworld texture, a cloudy, ominous skybox, and smoke VFX visible on the base screens and in combat. Merged in a shader change that unifies all textures used in combat maps, making them seamless and more cohesive, as well as more varied and improved tiling, and improved rain VFX. Hope is back. Hope is now applied globally rather than per province, on a scale from -5 to +5. Influences the home guard strength. The more hope you inspire, the less strength is lost when taking damage to your score. The amount of hope also affects the options available to the brigade when making important decisions during events. Now, this is the community feedback change. Forward bases. We created this entity specifically to solve the softlock scenario players discovered last update. Thank you for your help. Please let us know how the solution works for you. Forward bases can spawn in a contested province if the number of hostile military sites prior to contesting is too low. Like normal military bases, these sites also spawn patrols and convoys and can be designated as objectives. These bases are temporary. Once defeated, they will disappear, and the enemy will reorganize and create a new forward base elsewhere. They will also disappear when the contest is won or lost. So that's actually a shame that I didn't get a chance to help find that. But that's what I get for being too slow to play the game. Dynamic leveling system, province level. Province level now adapts to player level. Oh, this is wonderful. Okay. No longer forcing you to interact with underleveled provinces to progress. The level of surrounding provinces is calculated each time a province contest is concluded, regardless of the outcome. The further away from a liberated province, the higher the difference between the player level and the province level. This should open up a variety of ways you can progress through the country to the capital without forcing you to fight content that is much too hard or much too easy. That's really cool. I have a suspicion that the distribution of the levels was also due to, like, not necessarily wanting, like, it might be that there's just sort of a kind of very samey path that people will go through. So maybe the intention in putting those levels down was to try and add a little more variety in terms of the different playthroughs and what you would try. So I'm a little curious what this will look like in practice and how that will affect sort of my willingness to go to certain provinces. But I like this quite a bit. Workshop level. Similarly, your workshop is now guaranteed to provide you useful gear. It will always provide gear plus 2 levels above the level of your all-time highest average unit level. That's cool. That's actually really neat that they keep track of that in the background too, so that if you do find a better item that's a lower level, you're still going to wind up getting things that are potential improvements. There's some really good changes, and they're not necessarily things you'd see inside of a headline, but this is a really dense patch, it feels like. Average unit level. This is visible on the Overworld HUD on the bottom left, where your units are listed and is an average of all your battle-ready units. The number here can be directly compared to threat ratings on the Overworld and should give you a good idea of how difficult a fight will be. Enemy reinforcements. If the mobile base is within the vision range of a patrol or military site on the Overworld, the combat you next enter will have enemy reinforcements arriving. Which turn reinforcements arrive is dependent on how far away from combat the patrol or military site is on the Overworld. If they were very close, they could show up on turn 2. If they were very far, they may show up on turn 6. That's a really neat touch. If reinforcements from a patrol are defeated in combat, that patrol will be considered defeated when you return to the Overworld. That's also, they put a lot of thought into this. The number of units showing up in a wave increases dramatically at higher escalations. Retreat is always an option. Attack Overworld sites strategically to avoid facing too many enemies. There are still some scenarios that contain reinforcements regardless of Overworld sites. So again, on paper, I like this idea quite a bit because, of course, when you see the way that I play, I do tend to be sort of very kind of burn the boats sort of commander. I don't really retreat a whole lot. And in fact, there are definitely some points, and particularly because of the problem that they're ultimately solving up here, I would sort of just go in and I'm like, yeah, we're just going to steamroll over the enemy no matter what they throw at us. Whereas this time, it does definitely feel like they are creating some threats where if you don't sort of act the way you would imagine the Phantoms behaving, sort of hitting these weak spots and escaping before the retaliation comes, you will be facing these overwhelming forces that perhaps it would be better to run from. So we'll see what this does to my playthroughs, but I'm very interested in seeing how this works in practice. UI additions: sites and patrols that are going to provide enemy reinforcement. Let's try that again. UI additions: sites and patrols that are going to provide enemy reinforcements in combat will have an arrow pointing at the mobile base. If reinforcements are going to be entering combat, the threat rating on the bottom right UI pop-up when interacting with a site will better indicate that this combat will be harder than usual. New base upgrades: we've added five new, I think that's supposed to be sets of upgrades over 2 general types, accessible in the base upgrades menu. Or possibly just 5 new upgrades. Overworld Consumables: these are upgrades that allow you to build special resources that can allow you to avoid enemies on the overworld. Smoke charges: once installed, you can build smoke charges in the workshop. You get one for free at the install of the upgrade. So I know those used to be something you would pick up from liberated towns, I think. When encountering a mobile enemy, such as a patrol, a smoke charge can be used to stun the enemy and allow you to escape their sensor range. Decoy Drones: once installed, you can build Decoy Drones in the workshop. You get one for free on install of the upgrade. While in the overworld, you can place a drone using the new UI button. The drone will move to the selected destination, acting as an extension of your base. You will receive any scan data it picks up about enemy sites, and enemies will pay attention to the drone rather than the mobile base. If a patrol chases and catches the drone, it will self-destruct, stunning the patrol. After a certain amount of time, the drone will expire and disappear if it hasn't self-destructed. Combat modifiers: this is a new type of base upgrade that can be used before combat to modify the strength and number of your enemies, and to call for help. The option to use these resources is dependent on the circumstances of the battle at hand and must be used on the event screen prior to entering the briefing screen. Radio uplink: radio for help. Once installed, depending on your reputation with the home guard, you'll be able to call on them to help you in any battle. Each time you call, you lose 1 reputation point. If reputation is at 0, you cannot call for help from the home guard. The number and strength of units provided to you in battle depends on how high your reputation is. Conversely, if you successfully win combat without losing any home guard units, your reputation with them will increase dramatically. If a patrol follows you into friendly territory, you'll be able to summon the home guard regardless of your reputation, since you're on home turf. Scan jamming: block scans. Once installed, you can build scan jammers in the workshop. You get one for free on install of this upgrade. When used, it tricks enemies into sending weaker or less numerous units to battle, regardless of the escalation level of the province. And comms jamming: block reinforcements. Once installed, you can build comms jammers in the workshop. You get one for free on install of the upgrade. When used, it prevents the enemy from calling for help for reinforcements, removing those reinforcements from combat. New events: conscripts. After the brigade loses a fight, the defector notices that one of the enemy pilots was a conscript from the area. One of the mechanics on board suddenly feels very hesitant about re-engaging in light of this news. Reduce, reuse. The brigade comes across a group of people picking through the debris after a fight, finding out that people have been selling them. New steps in the cat and dog event chain, and new steps in the defector and rescued civilians event chains. Quality of life and miscellaneous changes. It's now possible to leave combat from the briefing screen in certain circumstances. Note, this is not possible if you are engaged with a patrol and do not have any smoke charges. If you do have a smoke charge, you can use it to escape from the briefing screen. Community feedback. Enemy reinforcements are now controlled by AI, but you can still modify or replan their actions. Friendly reinforcements now include mechs in addition to tanks when reputation is high enough. Mechs, cool. In events, you can now use hotkeys 1, 2, and 3, etc. to select event options. Added scroll bars to event text boxes to accommodate some of our wordier events. I sympathize. Although I don't think I've ever run into a situation where I need to use a scroll bar. Convoys no longer disappear and will continue to travel in a contested province and won't travel to liberated sites. You can now scroll from unit to unit in editing using buttons near the camera controls. Melee actions now also scramble missiles. Oh, I didn't realize that they didn't do that before. Well, that explains a bit. Missiles are now scrambled at the beginning of the dash melee action rather than at the end, and made it clear that dash and melee action descriptions and tooltips that dashing or using a melee weapon will scramble guided missiles. Thanks to the community for speaking up about these things. All parts livery now clears all other liveries if the new clear liveries button is toggled on. Salvage budget now dependent on the type of site that you attacked. Bases will have higher salvage budget than other sites, for example. Inventory now allows you to select multiple items via a range selection by holding Shift or Control when scrolling and selecting the equipment list. Finally, fixes. Fixed home guard recovery, getting stuck at above its max value and never allowing province contesting again. Readjusted lighting at night to make sure that combat is still visible. Fixed tab soft locking the game during combat if pressed while choosing a target. Fixed melee damage and missile splash damage not working correctly. This is probably going to hurt me because I've definitely had a couple of points where I feel like I've gotten away with murder. Fixed crashed meteors being non-interactable. Wait. I don't think I've encountered one of those yet. Fixed primary and secondary weapon names being reversed in several locations. Post-contest events now occur regardless of where the base is on the overworld, not just when in the contested province. Fixed unit selection with tab being reversed. Fixed second pause menu button appearing on screen if loading a save while in combat. I didn't realize you could save in combat. Fix the targeting rings of many weapons being different sizes when being placed on the timeline versus choosing a target. I've definitely seen that one. Fix the squad being visible and then switching to unit editing view while in the briefing. Fixed enemy tanks being damaged when their pilots eject. Fixed sites outside of the contested province damaging enemy strength score. Fixed mobile base not being auto-selected in some situations when loading a game. Fixed undefended caches remaining hostile after unlocking and salvaging. Fixed units with a shield and weapon not being allowed to do fallback melee when its single weapon is destroyed. Fixed no units being selected in incorrect camera position when the first slot of a squad is empty when entering combat. Fixed filtering in inventory preventing comparison of equipped versus hovered parts. I should take a look into that because that might actually address something that I thought wasn't in the game. Now prevents breaking turn execution caused by spamming a hotkey during the end of a turn. Fixed camera getting stuck in the sky when entering combat. Fixed thrusters on the arrow and Nox torsos. Fixed pilot costing 0 supplies to recruit. Damn. Fixed an exception during the draft event. Fixed some debug text on pilots. Fixed patrols and convoys that are designated as objectives not visually updating their movement. Fixed an exception that occurred when hovering over a patrol that the base had identified but not engaged with. Fixed F6 not opening the upgrade screen. Fixed convoys being able to continuously choose liberated sites as a destination. They now finish their current movement and then continue on to a hostile site. Fixed movement mode hotkeys not working. Fixed many issues with different events not working as intended. Fixed appearance of the squad roster on the overworld HUD when no units are present. Fixed being allowed to zoom in and out on the overworld while in an event screen. Fixed a soft lock scenario where no resupply point was available until the first province was liberated. Fixed multiple typos. Prevented sites outside of a contested province from damaging enemy strength score during contest. Fixed being unable to switch from overdrive directly to stealth movement mode. Fixed some overflowing UI elements. And fixed invalid levels on some loot. And then full list of known issues here. I will also take 1 minute here to mention something. Some of you may be interested in this. Every once in a while, you can click on this careers button. There are actually 3 positions open. So I think we mentioned that there's an assistant video producer available. There's a game design director, which this is a very senior role. Now, there are a couple of people that I did send this to, and they didn't give any indication if they're going to apply or not. But like this is one that requires quite a bit of experience. But some of you may be interested in the intern because this is actually related to Phantom Brigade. Now, obviously, this is an internship. It's got a fixed period of time. They are looking for people who have kind of a portfolio of games. But I do know that there are a few of you who are aspiring to work in games. And I do believe that a couple of you have mentioned that you would like to design. So if you have been working on some stuff and you think that this might be a good fit, somebody's going to do this role. And in fact, there have been a couple of people who've kind of come through this stream who have gone through these different internship roles, and they are working there. I don't know if any of them are still working at Brace Yourself, but I do know some of them are working on some other games, which we might actually be playing in a few months for all we know. So this is definitely something that I'll put it to you this way. If this is something that you want to do and you think it sounds like a good fit, incidentally, that applies to any of these here, you should apply. I say this as somebody who is often very reluctant to apply for certain jobs, particularly because, you know, maybe there's like one thing on a list where it's like maybe not a direct fit. This will be true for some data stuff, by the way, which is, you know, something I'm very comfortable with. But again, somebody's got to do the role, and more importantly, I have a feeling that probably there is a preference to you should probably prefer to have someone tell you that maybe you're not the best fit for the job compared to the other candidates than it is for you to just make that decision for the employer, right? I think it's fair to say that Brace Yourself Games is looking to get the best fit that they can find, and the way that they're going to do that is if they have, you know, a lot of high quality applications to choose from. And, you know, I know certainly nobody wants to be disappointed about things, but I would encourage you, if you think that on any of those roles seem like a good fit, I think you should definitely give it a try, because I don't know. I think if you don't find yourself in a situation where you're not, if you're not hearing no, or if you're not sort of finding things that maybe are in danger of not working, or, you know, even just in a situation where maybe you'll find you've made an error somewhere, that might mean that you're not necessarily challenging yourself enough. I'm finding this in data a lot. You know, there's a set of projects that I can do where I feel very confident in them, but I'm not growing out of those. What I'm growing out of are the ones where I have no idea at the start what the answer is going to be. But actually, on that note, I've had a couple of interesting breakthroughs, which I need to implement at some point on data. But with all of that in mind, I don't know if any of you will apply, or if that's even appropriate for any of you to apply. But I do know that there are a few aspiring game designers who watch the channel every once in a while. And if that internship sounds good for you, or if you're a more senior designer and that director role sounds good, I hope you take the opportunity. I need to clear something off my monitor really quickly. So I'm gonna put the audio back up, but I need to just scamper away for a quick minute. It was frustrating me while I was viewing the patch notes as well. But I'll be back in just a second, and then we will enjoy the game. See you in a bit. I'm just trying to fix the problem. One of my monitors died a few months ago. While it wasn't an expense I was thrilled to incur, I decided rather than going for half measures, I actually got a nice new replacement. I've generally been good at avoiding stuff falling on it or causing blemishes, but I don't know what it was, but it's actually caused a bunch of little dots to appear on the screen. Just taking a moment here, because otherwise I'm going to be distracted. And then for real, what do you think? I'm actually also mildly curious. I think normally Brace Yourself streams today. So I also just want to see whether or not they're actually broadcasting. No. All right. Well, you're stuck with me then. All right, let's see what we got here. Also, you'll be pleased to know, Olaf, I'm drinking some coffee because I am probably going to get... Oh, wow, that texture really is good. I probably got a late night, so I need to... I need all the help I can get. Yeah, look at that. I should actually just take a quick minute here. I think we're still... I don't know if I want to do the, like, doubling up the scaling and such, but... Ah! I can't remember if I want soft or... We'll try that. Okay, so I could take a look at... Yeah, so I mean, I could take a look at some things to build in the base, but I think at this point, how about we just focus on the objective? The one thing, or well, I can't quite do yet, but once we repair, I'll see maybe if we've got some upgrades that we can do on our people. Okay. So we've got a medium body. So I think this is just purely because of the core. Mass is a bit higher than it should be, though. So, Tiberiosity, how you doing? Definitely a better arm, but slightly worse dissipation. I don't think I'm gonna replace any of these yet. I should probably change the name of this one. I think probably a switch to the machine gun might be. Oof. Better mass. I mean, it's also not really something that I'm probably going to be using all that much. The active heat sink's going to pull from my power. And the integrity isn't where it needs to be. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this thing is so much slower than it used to be, but I'm gonna run with it. Extremely sweaty. Spent the last hour in the sun with your nice dark work clothes, picking up trash from the yard and hedges. 27 degrees. Okay, I was gonna say 327 degrees Celsius reminds me of an old independent film from Fox Searchlight called Sunshine. Is it Sunshine? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Sunshine. And your sweat is super corrosive. It makes you itch like crazy, and it eats gold. Does anybody have a name that they want to give the machine gun, by the way? Right now I'm just calling it Bulk with an exclamation point, but I'm willing to change that. Didn't give myself that much space for stealth. I wonder what that... Call it Phil. Base assault. Bases are the most challenging military structures to defeat. Be sure that you're ready before you attack. It's wise to tackle roaming units in the neighboring regions before choosing to assault a base in some cases. You've received intel that units in this base are using brand new technology, regenerative armor. This armor is capable of absorbing damage over and over if left undisturbed for more than a few seconds. It may be worth focusing your fire on one mech at a time to prevent this. Into the fray. The base comes alive with the sound of boots crashing against the floor. In the hangar, an engineer shouts his instructions to the crew, and a pilot rushes to get changed. You keep your eyes trained on the battle console, settling yourself with a deep breath. Okay, so we don't have a fourth pilot. We've got two... So we arrive here, we've got two just off to the right. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll put the machine gunner sort of in the middle here and then fire down on that end where the main force is going to sort of come in through the side. If we want to retreat, it's going to be a really long walk, but we'll see maybe if we can avoid that. Okay, let's do it. I was just thinking we needed some dun-dun-dun-dun music. Okay, so it's a mech and a tank. Code red, hostile units, contact. All units hold optimal range and await reinforcements. Okay, so who hates everyone? Oh, looks like we don't have the dun-dun-dun-dun music anymore. Okay, so everybody wants to attack the shield. Oh, that's not entirely true. The Sleipnir is also a target. But one person who isn't a target is the machine gunner. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to build the turn around the machine gunner. That's out of range? Well, I mean, we obviously have options, so I'll maybe try and hug the buildings a little bit closer. So I was originally hoping that I could maybe get two rounds of those shots in, but that's clearly not happening. Now, one of the things we can try and do is make it so that any attacks that come after the Sleipnir... Okay, that's not going to work. Well, hang on. There's other ways we can work this. So I want to try and make it so that the tank is hitting its ally. So we've got the tank. It's moving up. It's going to target the Sleipnir. So it's not going to last forever, but it does give me a little bit of time to do some damage to the enemy unit. And in this case, we'll move up a little bit. Still can't make the second turn, but that's fine. Okay, so the other thing that I want to try and do is make sure that I... Ooh, there's a possibility there, actually. So we'll walk back. There's really no hope of escaping the attack. But what I can do is I can set up my shield to take it on. So they're attacking me with a shotgun. That shotgun does 466 damage. My shield is capable of absorbing 550. So that's a pretty reasonable hit that I'm taking there. Looks like I'm doubling up the shield, which is not my favorite choice, but I'll Yeah, I still think this is the right call. It does open up the shotgun for later. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the Sleipnir is I'm going to hold them in place for a little while. Basically just long enough for the enemy unit to cause the damage to its ally. Not exactly. So honestly, at this point, I think probably just hitting the back of the enemy unit as often as I can is the way I want to handle this. So let's watch the magic. Actually, before I do that, let's just double check, make sure that. Aha. Oh, nuts! I didn't mean to go so aggressive with the movement. Okay, that's fine. It's kind of a long shot, to be honest, but I'll work with it. So that does the tank's probably going to be a problem next turn, but in this case we've at least got a pretty decent run on the enemy mech. Just trying to see, I kind of see this ghosting every once in a while, which if I could, I'd like to get rid of it, but... Or maybe it's the motion blur. I'll work with what I got. Okay, so let's see who's attack. Okay, so they're focused on the shotgunner. Now, one option I have is just to go aggressive. The other is to run. So it seems like I still have options here. The real question is, okay, and this unit's knocked out, so this should actually be a pretty straightforward little encounter. In fact, if anything, let's just keep him behind the concrete. Okay, so we got an Elbrus for free. We've got an intact mech. Obviously the legs got knocked out though, so yeah, we can take everything and we still have leftovers. So I'm just gonna try file control shift, yeah. Okay, so I think this is the time when I'm not 100% sure about this red... I'm not 100% sure about this red line here. I am going to hit play just so we can get a little bit of repairing in. Oh. Oh wait, I don't think we repair if we rush. Well, let's see. Yeah, I don't see that number changing. Okay, so we'll do some upgrades if we can. We had the Elbrus that we got. This is the Sleipnir, which is kind of the star. I like... So it's got a bonus to dissipation, but it's actually not as impressive as the existing one. So in this case, we'll say no. We've got heavy legs, so that won't really apply. It's all heavy, so I can definitely see this working for the machine gunner. For the rest of it, though, I think we'll leave that be. Now, the lance... I think it's just that launch core that's causing the trouble. Then again, we can switch it out, so... I may change my mind there later. Let's take a look at the right slot for that shotgun, and looks like overall it's a better gun, but it does lose 3 meters on its meters on its range. So, and let's just take a look here about some new bodies. So worse on mass. Better legs, not so good on heat dissipation, but I think in this case I am going to switch them out. Yeah, those heavy arms don't work. Not a better shield. I will eventually replace... wait, did I take a look at the legs? Wait, I replaced the legs. Or did I? That's the Sleipnir. Right, they were too heavy, so even though they did give me a good heat dissipation, they didn't quite work. So I will eventually scrap a lot of this stuff, but for the time being, I just want to get the Province Liberator. Now, I'm not quite sure what the difference would be between fighting this battle versus contesting the province. It looks like these units have been transporting light armor projects. Light armor sets have less integrity than medium armor sets, but they are lighter, which means they dissipate more heat and make your mech faster. Use these projects in the workshop to create the armor sets. Okay, so that doesn't seem to have done anything on its own, so we will contest the province. Let's go to the battle site. Take them out. You followed a distress signal put out by the home army to squash some enemy forces at this battle site. One of your pilots is jumpy. They mean business, Commander. They really want to win this war. Another shrugs. I reckon we can take them. What do you think, boss? Suit up. Alright, Assisted. Team up with allied forces and eliminate all hostiles. Your team is large but inflexible, so be prepared for anything. And we're up against the army who do have a higher level than us. Higher threat level than us. Ooh, look at that skybox. Decelerating. Let's flank and finish them off. Okay, so looks like the AI is determined to go crashing into the back of my my unit. Now, one of the things that we want to do, we are the protectors, so we do want to make sure that we are we want to make sure that the tanks are being like the home guard's not being taken out by the enemy. So there's a couple things that I'm going to try and do here. Number one, I was trying to see if there was a way that I could get an attack in that didn't involve. Well, this might work. So here we're using the shield for what it was intended for. Okay, now the one problem with that is that this attack doesn't help the this attack doesn't work on the doesn't work on the enemy tank anymore, so we can still move in. Yeah, we gotta wait it out. Okay, I'm gonna have to live with that. I don't feel good about it, but let's see if we can make anything else work for our people. So I don't need to worry about the attack coming from this tank. However, I do need to worry about the machine gun. So first thing I could try to do is just move in and get my machine gun firing first. So then the follow-up question is there any way that I can... Actually, you know what? There is another path. Let's do something like that. We don't even need to run the full duration. I feel like there's potential here, but I gotta be a little careful about when I do certain things. So what I'm doing here is it's more on the back end that's yeah, there's some potential there. Okay, so the big question is, like, what do... You know, I've got a couple tanks which are going to be helping out. The question is, do I want to try and take out this machine gunner or an SMG? Actually, they're both machine gunners. Is there one that does more damage? So that one does more damage. This one's an autocannon. This... Okay, we got a pair of autocannons. I think this winds up crashing into... No, it doesn't. Okay. So I think if I do this, I wind up hitting my own unit. We tease the edge of it, but I think I'm actually willing to give this a shot. Okay, so it's not the most compelling strategy as far as the allies are concerned, but let's see how this turns out. Seems to work out pretty well. Okay, so first question is going to be what's the enemy response? So it looks like they're still going to focus down on the machine gunner. We can work with that. This unit is not doing anything. Okay, and then we've got a tank which is focused on the Sleipnir. Okay, so we got a pair of tanks which are sort of fighting with each other. I think I can live with this. Particularly because this tank isn't actually doing anything. So we'll call them the homeboys, are safe. So that good shotgun to the back seems to be a hard opportunity to pass up. Now I do want to try and avoid the attack from the autocannon if I can. So if we do one of these, no collisions, which is good. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to sneak behind the hill here, just so I can wait out the attack, and that way we should be able to follow up with something a little more meaningful. I'm a little surprised I'm not overheating. Yeah. Okay, that works for me. So the last question would be, is there a way I can make this machine gun work? I think my preference would be to focus on this unit rather than the other machine gunner. But yep, that looks like a very plausible turn. A little surprised at the damage I took there, but that was a good turn for us. We took out pretty much everything. There's some decent concussion there, but I was actually expecting us to have a little more to show for that turn. So what I'm going to do here, I'm kind of cooking eggs in my cockpit, so I need to vamoose. What I can do is just try and maneuver to a slightly more helpful position. Not even necessarily, so one thing that this helps with is the, my allies get a better shot, but I'm trying to, this is a drawback of my really long attacks. So what I'll do here is I'll run around the side. That's a little more likely. Okay, so then the last question here is, what do we do about the machine gun? So if I just go behind the hill, that covers me for most of the activity. The one thing I didn't account for, though, was my Sleipnir again. Okay, so they're safe there. So what I want to try and do, if I can, I've got a... I'm just trying to angle everything so that I can have a somewhat credible defense. And as much as I can, I want to be delivering pain on this unit. Let's try that one more time just to make sure that then... It's a couple things that I feel nervous about just in terms of where the shotgun shells are going to go, but And then I tend to let the allies do their own thing. I am going to slightly adjust their path. Not just slightly. Yeah, this is a little more viable. And then this is a long-range attack, so where I can, I want to either get them on high ground or I want to get them targeting another unit. Yeah, none of that's going to help. Whoa! So I just got a crash window. I've actually not seen a crash like this before. Okay, well, we're gonna have to redo that that battle, but I mean, it worked reasonably well for us before. Sorry about this. That's actually the first like kind of hard crash that I've had in this game, or at least that I remember. Okay, I think we should be good there. Sorry, got a message I wanted to deal with. Okay, yeah, that's manageable. Although it feels like there's more enemies this time. I'm probably just remembering incorrectly, but we've got 4 contacts now. Decelerating. Let's flank and finish them off. Okay. So yeah, this is the exact same battle. So I just misremembered. It was 2 tanks versus 2 troops. And actually, it looks like they're starting with the exact same battle plan. So we'll do the same thing we did before. looks like I have room for a little adjustment here. So basically we're going to crash into this tank and then we'll just empty the shotgun into the enemy unit here. I think we'll still have a clear shot on this unit. What's going on? Okay, so this tank isn't doing anything, presumably because it would wind up shooting an ally. So I think we're gonna leave that tank be. We're gonna do the same trick that we did before, which is move the machine gunner up. Oh, this has got an assault rifle now instead of a machine gun, so that actually gives me a slightly different opportunity. Not exactly. So if I could, I'd love to do something like this, but I just don't think it's going to have any meaningful impact on the battle. So we'll stay put there. So the remaining question is, what do I do with the Sleipnir? Nobody's attacking it right now. So this is going to be an inefficient way of getting to this high ground. Wondering. So why can't they just walk up like this? So it's trying to avoid a collision with the tank. So if I just tell them do it normally, okay, they still avoid all the song and dance. But I think the problem with this is that it cuts me off from a lot of attack possibilities. So I'll just run up the middle like so. And I'll take shots where the opportunities come. Yeah, we run pretty hot off of that, so I think that'll be it for that turn. Okay, it looks like we got a little bit of damage on the side there. So let's take a look and see what the assault rifle does first. Okay, so they're still gonna focus on my machine gunner now. I'm a little lucky here because I think if I just walk around the edge, I believe that will save me. And what this should do is this should open possibilities for me to be a little more active in the engagement. Nope, they get out of the way. Nuts. Okay. It's the worst possible place for them to be. All right. I think we'll help as best as we can, even if it means sort of flailing wildly. With close range attacks. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to throw up the shield again. Basically, I'm just going to do the same trick with the tank, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn around and we'll direct that anger on this tank. It may not be enough to take it out in time, but we'll see. Now, this tank doesn't really seem to be doing a whole lot, so let's wait till they're in range and see if we can deliver a coup de grace on the... Okay, if we just push that up a little bit, we should have a better shot. Still not a great to hit, but I am kind of counting on this tank crashing, but I think that's a safe bet. There's some possibilities here. So if I move this tank over here. Okay, so it says that it's safe. This is really reckless, but it's a chance to take a shot versus not doing anything, so I'll run with it. And then I believe I should have a free Sleipnir this turn. So if we do... Okay, that's too hot. I think that'll have to do. We're backing them into a corner. Just a little more, boss, and we can get to those civilians. Okay. So far we've avoided losing anything in terms of our allies. I've got a little... the armor's a little banged up, but nothing catastrophic. I think I might want to redirect this tank towards this side of the battlefield, though. And then I think what we'll do here is we're actually going to start with an attack. Oh, that causes it to overheat. Okay, so we just gotta move. Wow. I really don't know. I really am not good using tanks. Okay, that's gonna cause a crash. I have many reservations about this approach, but okay, so this is at least keeping most, if not everyone, protected. What we are going to do, though, is I want to try and get the rest of the squad sort of in range for retaliation. I'm not going to start firing just because the chance for friendly fire is a little too high. But what I'm going to do is get the Sleipnir to sort of follow and cause pain. To get away. These numbers don't work. Okay, that at least works a little bit better. That was unexpected. So they've only got one left. They're going to be using their sidearm in this case, and it's all focused on the machine gunner. So I think in this particular case, we're just going to keep the pressure up. As long as it doesn't cook me. So we'll wait out the last of the machine gun fire. Might be able to just hop up on the hill. It's probably overkill, but... This is an autocannon, so that's about as good as I think I can expect. But let's see if we can make something happen with the... Couldn't make anything happen with the tank, but at the very least I could stop them from firing. So we're taking a bit more damage than what I would normally want for a battle like this. Like, we've kind of won, so at this point I shouldn't be taking too much. Okay. So we'll just stomp the attacks because they're going to eject. That just means more goodies for us. Oh, well, so much for that. Well, it's the home guard. They're not as professional. Okay, so definitely quite a bit more we have to scrap. Wow, we're still over. Okay, let's... Don't feel good about it, but it's what we got. Alright, so that knocked him down 5. I think at this point we go straight for the forward base. We'll let the healing happen first, and then we'll worry about upgrades. Paying attention to those numbers. Okay, so we've got a slight decrease in power, but good for dissipation. I'm actually willing to... I think I'm willing to boost this one. We'll lose a bit of speed, but I think I can live with that sacrifice. For the lower body, we've got some light legs here. Now those better mass and better heat dissipation, so we'll throw those on as well. No new arms. We had to sacrifice those, and we've got a Hurricane machine gun, which won't help for the Sleipnir, but there may be options available later on. So for the Lance, I think it's the same story as before. Maybe we can take a look at the lower legs. So currently we've got mediums. Yeah, the rest of these don't quite make sense for us. No changes to the arms, so I shouldn't need to worry about that. And then we're a shotgunner, not a machine gunner, so. And then finally the bulk, which again I need to come up with a new name for. So I'm just going to take a quick second here. So this is about the heat... Okay, yeah. So I'm just noticing here when it talks about optimal intervals. So I'm not quite sure why it says a longer duration is a negative. I actually think a shorter duration is an improvement. And the modifier also seems to think so. So notice here where it says there's a duration double plus. It's 133. It goes from 190 to 133. So even though it says it gives me a red, even though it gives me a red value, I actually think the shorter duration makes more sense. Now, again, optimal interval is, I think, probably more about the time in between. But one way or the other, we're definitely equipping this machine gun. I think also we're at the point now where I'm going to want to scrap some items, but not all. So let's start with... Okay, well, let's start with weaponry. So I've got a number of shotguns here. I'm only going to use one of them, though, so this auto's probably the best. I'll tell you what, I'll even go nuts on this, and I'll just say it's like, okay, well, we'll keep like one of each of these particular kinds, sort of maximum variety in this case. Similar story with shields. So I don't think there's really a situation in which I would use the Ajax at all, or like the tower for that matter, because of the barrier. But in this case here, this Ajax is clearly something for scrap. And maybe let's not sort by level. Oh, I lost my selections. Okay, that's fine. We can work with this. So I'm only going to really use. So at this point, we've made our decisions as far as our parts are concerned. So there's no value in keeping more than one Elbrus spot. In fact, there's probably no value in keeping more than one of these. Okay, so that's a mass double negative. Let's actually start with anything with the negative features. They're automatically knocked out of the running. Probably going to take a surprising amount out of the list. Okay, so this should give us a more realistic idea of what we actually have in terms of resources. So we've got one pair of Elbrus legs. We've got two Elbrus arms. Sorry, we've got 4 Elbrus arms, and they're all more or less the 5 Elbrus arms. Okay, so we're going to get rid of all but 2. Because that's the most that we would ever use for one of those on a new mech. We've got 2 shred shotguns, one with a better optimal interval than the other. So let me just make sure that I get these. Guess it doesn't really matter which one. I'm trying to think of what that number that changes below the L1 in the top right corner. I'm not quite sure what those mean. All right. So before I can have another mech, I suspect we're going to need to upgrade the base. So let's work on that next, if I can. Oh, there's the upgrade. Sorry, I'm totally out to lunch. Okay, so probably a first priority that I should be working on here is getting an extra mech into the group. So optimize storage and an extra unit slot by reconfiguring internal walls. That's 200 supplies. Yep, that's... Actually, hang on. Let's just read what we have available to us. So, disable the safety checks and limiters installed in all civilian reactors, allows the power core to store more energy and enables further customization. Okay, so under normal circumstances, I'd be fine with that, but... smoke. Better build speed. Yeah, so I'm guessing optimized storage is the thing that was keeping us from being able to have another mech. Cool. So now we go to the workshop and we build a new mech frame. So under certain circumstances, I would be building additional parts for the Phantom Brigade, but in this case here, I've got 420 supplies to work with. So let's start by upgrading the mobile base as much as I can, and then following that, we can make some conscious decisions about what we want to achieve. So the types of upgrades I'm most interested in would be things like reactor. So getting an additional energy and storage capacity. That's a big one for me because that's just a pure benefit, and more importantly, that's just going to mean more time that I can spend either in overdrive or in stealth. Now I can contrast this to, say, maybe this is a little bit later. I definitely remember... Oh, yeah. So here we go. Stacked storage. So this, it seems to be that you can get a bunch more units. So like you can just have these legions of mechs. This is actually a really neat idea, incidentally. So notice here, right, you can take a look at overdrive, cruise, and stealth. So overall, your base will move slower, but you get additional mechs in exchange for that. I'm just trying to see if there's any others like that, or if it's the storage is the... Oh, here's an example. Expanded reactor. So in this case here, it looks like you're able to do more, but it does mean that like when you're not in stealth mode, you are overall more noisy, which again, that's an interesting one. I thought that there were a few more that would mess around a little bit with your overall stats. Yeah, for the time being, I'm happy to sit with optimized storage. I think changing our sensors would not be a bad idea at some point, but for the time being, I think just getting more power is probably the better call. And then honestly, the sensors are helpful, but probably it would be under stealth. So I think I'm just going to keep my my existing... Okay, so we're going to go overdrive for a bit. Oh, not stealth. So I want to charge up just enough to go quiet coming up to the forward base. As you, at your order, the base flies into action and prepares for a fight. An engineer sprints towards the bay to check on the guns, passing a scout relaying combat data through the radio. There's shouting everywhere. At your side, someone's leg bounces up and down, boot heel tapping on the grate. You feel eyes on you, awaiting your command. Suit up. So, I don't think we finished... Yeah, we didn't finish the new unit in time. By the way, This is great. This is what they were talking about in terms of the new skybox in a contested region. This is a very, very cool look. But in this case, it's pretty clear what we need to do as far as the briefing is concerned. We've got 4 units in the center here. I don't know if the Home Guard's going to help us with this encounter, but it'll be a pretty clear elimination for us. Okay, 2 tanks, 2 mechs. So I'm going to do what I normally do for combat. I've been failing to do it this time around, but Nope, dropping in. Command is getting impatient. Let's get this over and done with. Okay, so one of the things I want to do is just see the weaponry that we're up against first. So we've got an assault rifle, we've got a shotgun, we've got 2 autocannons. So we don't need to worry too much about the tanks until they get into close range. We can more or less ignore the shotgun before it gets into close range too, but this is definitely a much faster moving mech than some of the others. And the assault rifle is pretty much going to be a constant threat. So one thing I'm actually going to do, it's going to be a little counterintuitive. I take this machine gunner, and I put it on a hill, and I'm just going to let her rip, even though it does mean that there will be some threats to them. Okay, so not much I can do about the attack. I'm not that threatened by it, but I do want to make sure that I'm at least trying to keep as protected as I can. So we're going to double up on the assault rifle. Actually, you know what? Maybe we just get everybody to focus on that particular unit. Nope, can't do that. So if I run the Sleipnir just straight out of the combat, no, they still get a free hit. What if I run them? That more or less protects them. So, not my favorite choice, but what I think is going to happen here is that I'm going to be able to move out and around and contribute more sort of on the back end of the turn. Yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot from the Sleipnir, but let's see how it turns out. Okay, so there was a bit of a... So the fact that I rolled over into the next turn has created an opportunity for this tank. So one of the things I can do to minimize the consequences is just position my unit to maximize friendly fire, which I have every intention of doing. And then immediately following, I can throw up the shield. Okay, so then the next question is what damage is being done to the machine gunner? Now this is one that kind of needs to just stay put and do its thing. So in this case, I think we're going to direct our defenses against this unit. So it does of course come with the risk of the damage from this unit, but I'm going to be able to use my Sleipnir for that. Now, the Sleipnir's movement's going to be a little funny this turn, and it's mostly... So I kind of need to keep them... I'm going to be kind of dancing around the map a little bit. Part of that is to make sure that I'm not in range of this shotgun. So notice that they're always kind of targeting me just outside outside of their optimal range, and I want to make sure that I can keep them in that spot. So again, I want to try and contribute where I can to take out this tank, but I want to do so in a way that I'm making sure that I'm not under threat by enemy weaponry. So this unit's doing its thing. The last thing I got to do is figure out what I'm doing with my machine gun, and it turns out that this unit's very graciously helping me by... Oh. So I'm going to be exposing my back to them, which is not great, but I'll run that risk. Ooh, I didn't do nearly enough damage to make that worthwhile. Okay, so my ally did help out. So we now have the numerical advantage. So this is a bit of a no-brainer here. This is just, you know, put up the shield, use the shotgun. Hopefully that gets rid of the bad guy. Now this shield's looking pretty tough. This unit doesn't seem to be doing any kind of an attack. So in one sense I want to just get the machine gun done as early as possible. Here it's doing a very fast move. Well, you know what? This works. I don't think I can get a second one in. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Being able to hit it a little bit closer to the back is more enticing, so I will take that opportunity. But I am going to make sure that I'm angling my... Ah, yes, okay. So I want to make sure that when this enemy unit attacks, it's doing so with its back turned to... I want to make sure that its back is turned to the... So here the Sleipnir is really more bait than anything, but I'm fine with that. Okay, I don't think that was enough to finish it off. So we almost got what we needed concussion-wise. I don't think this unit is going to eject. Let's assume the best. And this unit's definitely going to want its revenge, so we'll go... I'm going to do a slightly different approach. We'll absorb the attack. I want to make sure I'm kind of getting out of the way. I could have moved this unit a little bit closer to the... Oh wait, this will eject because it's got its shield up. So I'm expecting... I probably wouldn't expect too much as far as scrap is concerned, but this was really more about winning the battle and seeing what happens. Okay, so as usual, we try and take the high-value stuff first. Okay, so unfortunately, we're gonna have to give up that uncommon item. So a lot of escalation. 10 on the enemy weakened. So I think what I'm going to do here, I'm not quite sure what happens in the region once we've sort of cleared everything out, so we're just going to kind of run and do our cruise thing. We'll heal up as usual. I might even just maybe sort of do some... Oh, this is a battle site, right. So we're just going to do some laps around the battle site until we're healed up. We'll see if we can make use of some of that scrap. So we've got a light body, which is not that big of a hit on integrity. There is a big hit on power. What I'm going to try with this one, so we've got a Nox upper that we're working with here. So I want to see what the net effect on speed is, because I don't mind giving up some power just so long as... I'm, if I have to give up some power, but I have a lighter frame, I'm okay with that in order to get the extra speed. So we're at 1743, at 1625, so that doesn't quite work for me. I've got a similar story here. Now this one loses the heat dissipation though, so this one was better for integrity. I think we can leave that. I think we can leave that one on its own. Now, we currently have an active heat sink, so if I can switch this out, I'd prefer it, just because it does take away some power. But I don't think we have that much in terms of options here. Arm. So, curiously, this is actually slightly worse on mass, but it's better for integrity. So this is currently rocking heavy plating. I would prefer to have a different kind of arm, to be honest, but yeah, I don't feel great about it, but I can live with it. Let's take a look at these numbers. So, slightly worse optimal interval, slightly better concussive damage, and considerably better attack. So I think I am going to wind up going for the Astra on this one. Okay, and we'll do the same story for the remaining units. There may be some improvements here. Nope. Ah, crap. I don't remember which one I wanted. This one looks a little more on brand. Now this Elbrus spot actually is a little bit better. The heat dissipation leaves something to be desired, but heat dissipation hasn't been this mech's problem. So we will actually run with this one. Lower body, we could give it some heavier legs. We'd give up some... Oof. Yeah, I don't think I want to give up any more mass on this. These arms are basically all the same. Overall survivability for these shields aren't working for me, so... And we don't really have much in terms of improvement. So we'll see if we can make something a little bit more out of my big big machine gunner. Not really. I mean, this thing already is very, very slow moving. Okay, so this has got to stay the same. Fair enough. Let's just take a quick look at the inventory, see if we can find any new items to scrap. So yeah, we've got a spare burst now that we can get rid of. We now have 3 of the same Elbrus arms, so... Now, these become a little harder to make decisions about because they all have different, sort of different adjustments. But I'm trying to be a little bit more, involved in managing the inventories here. And that's just because I want to try and be on top of the different upgrades. So actually, with that in mind, I should maybe take a second here and say, well, what's the upgrade I want to do the most? So, you know, smoke charges are nice. I think the expanded reactor is probably the one I want the most. I believe here I'm going to need quite a bit in terms of uncommon parts. Now, the sensors are not that bad. Let's actually do overdrive sensing. Troublemakers, your contact in the Home Army said that while the Home Army is busy with a battalion elsewhere, they don't have enough mechs on the ground to deal with this pesky fire team. We're on top of them now, an engineer shouts from the front of the base. What do you want to do, boss? The pilot asks. We're ready to fight if you are. So we'll suit up. Okay, so... again, 3-on-4. Still waiting for the... Still waiting for the last unit to get built. So given the fact that, you know, there's another 10, like it feels like we're losing, or the enemy loses sort of 10 strength each. So like when you're contesting the province, it feels like each battle will knock them down by 10. This actually will potentially extend the length of the playthrough by quite a bit for me, because if I think about the old way that it would work, you know, there'd be something like 5 to 7 different encounters that I would do. There was a certain level of hope that would move up. And then we'd have the province, basically. So here, if I wind up kind of having encounters where I need to get the value down, and, you know, it goes down in increments of 10, and I have to do that for every province, that's implying a very high number of battles. And of course, I kind of take my time on the battles. So one thing I might do is for the ones that are kind of no-brainers, I might try and go a little more quickly through some of those. But again, it depends, right? Like, games are not sort of intended to be just sort of like gobbled up rapidly. So, you know, it is sometimes fun to just kind of stop and smell the roses and see where the game takes you. I think here I'm going to do the same thing that I normally do with my shotgunner. So I am eventually going to need the parts for the repairs, but I wonder if I can do that back to back. Probably not, but yeah. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I suspect I'm going to need to move back later, so we'll at least just get that. We'll at least get that started. Now, is anybody attacking the? Yes, they are attacking the home guard. That's an autocannon. I don't have too much to fear from it. I don't know if moving these tanks in a way that leaves them like wide open. Ugh. Okay, we're gonna sneak this tank around the edge. As for this one, I would like to get some range on it for sure. The question is, can I do it in a way that yeah, so like there's some mild promise to the friendly fire there, but the fact that it doesn't deliver right away. Oof. Yeah, we're kind of opening ourselves up to some hurt right off the top. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move back like this, and then I'm going to move sort of to the... Oh, can't go up the side of a mountain. What kind of a tank does this thing think it is? Okay, yeah. So really, this is going to be more about protecting the home guard than anything else too special. This is a machine gun. So that's actually a fairly decent range that they have on that. I think I can probably do slightly better. Really isn't worth it, is it? Okay, I'm not overjoyed by how I'm using the Sleipnir, but it's definitely stopping some damage, so ouch. Okay, so this thing's become a liability. Fortunately, nobody's really targeting it, so that's a start at least. I was kind of hoping I'd be able to chase them down, but that's clearly not happening, so. Yeah, it'll have to do. I'm trying to see if there's anything I can do with my machine gunner that's kind of meaningful here. Yeah, the fact that this is such a slow mover is a real drag. So I'll protect them as best as I can, but at this point, this is really more about can I get them in a meaningful position for like next turn. So with that in mind, I guess it's up to the Sleipnir to try and make some things happen. Although the good news is that the unit with the autocannon is sort of gone uncontested. So there might be penalties next turn, but so far I've avoided the worst of it. So they're using a sidearm here. The submachine gun's still something I should worry about. Now, what I would prefer would be to sort of run around the edge like this. Question is, okay, and I don't hit my own guy doing that, so that's good. And that frees me up to do a sneaky shot to the back. So I'm hoping that's going to translate to some decent concussive damage. Okay, so that's not a complete loss. Actually, it's already lost its right arm, so this is all well, I mean, it's extra. That's kind of nice, but we've lost one unit. There's too many. Make sure that was the last casualty, or command will be hearing about this. Looks like they still want to attack, so we will oblige. Oh, actually, so we have a few people who want to cause us pain. Well, best option here, as far as I can tell, is to just keep the aggression. It's 256 on my shield. That thing can do 450 on a full volley. And I am in sort of the optimal range. There's really not a whole lot that's good about this. I will put up my shield to deal with the worst of it. But what I'm really banking on here is the retaliation, and I'm hoping we don't lose a part. Okay, so last question is, what do I do with the Sleipnir? This should hopefully be a bit of a no-brainer. I think I can... Yep. Can engage at this range, and I suspect I can't get a third shot off. No. But at least I'm sort of staying put, and then I can just move myself to a better position for the next round. Okay, so we'll still have to deal with this mech or this tank at some point, but I'm okay with how this turn is turning out. All right, yeah, we lost the shield, so that's going to cost us. That's going to cost us when it comes time to get the scrap. Okay, so this unit's going to eject. That's good news for us. One thing I can do is probably just step on this guy. I mean, I'm going to be firing all over the place here, but... Okay, so that move with the Sleipnir doesn't quite work. It's more or less the same, just I'm doing a little bit of a weird movement. I will be hitting the side of the mountain a little bit, but in this case I think this is already overkill. Ooh. Enemy is just ejected. Hold formation, team. Their defenses are weakening. Was that... That wasn't one of our guys who ejected. I'm pretty sure that was intended to be the... I'm pretty sure that was intended to be the like, our people saying that. Anyways... This doesn't require a whole lot of explanation. We're just going to move in and hit things. Ideally, things that are not our allies. It's a little annoying that I hit my own unit there. So in this case here, we just wound up with a lot more damage than... quite a bit more damage on our units, which is we're gonna have to pay for that in terms of getting the repair gel, but overall that was manageable. I do like the little bit of extra text that's happening at the top, though. Okay. So yes, I will reclaim the shield. Yeah, we go over with that. So, I actually want all of this. We'll give up one of the arms. Oh my god, I have to give up more than one. 35. So obviously that just nets me more scrap overall. Okay, so we're at 50% for repair resources. We've got all of our units at full health, so we'll take a quick second here and just see if we have any upgrades. So this would be a Nox body, so slightly worse heat dissipation, but good for all the other numbers. So I think I am going to take that body. And yeah, no other upgrades for the Sleipnirs. So I'm not 100% sold on that assault rifle, by the way, but I'll try and make it work. Yeah, these don't quite work for me. Now, if this was the left arm, I'd be willing to entertain it, but for the right arm, I mean, even 142 is pretty light for a primary weapon. Don't think we have any better shields. No. I can see this working, though. So I'm curious if that's opened any possibilities. Not really. Better overall damage, so I think we'll go with that. Hurricane. I'm pretty sure we've done this to death. Right now I'm really just trying to recover mass. You know, maybe this Elbrus arm might be a good idea. It's kind of the same logic, which is this is already protected by the shield. Of course, it's not the best shield that I've got. But yeah, let's run with what we've got here. So this is really just a chance for me to mess around with the locations a bit. Like, it doesn't really feel like there's any battles going on at the moment. So this is just a chance for me to see, see the sights in the region. Nope. Oh, I can build a new unit. Okay, trying to think of the best way to handle this. So, I mean, one thing I could start with, yeah, I'm going to take the highest level of each part, and then we'll build something from that. It's like this is not the mech that I'm going to be deploying, but this gives me a chance to sort of look at some particular trade-offs. So for instance, this is a light body, so that would imply that I either want high dissipation or fast movement. Now 735 is definitely not the number I would be looking for fast movement. So this will give me a little more mobility, but at the expense of heat dissipation. I think overall, though, this Nox is a little more attractive. For lower body, we can get back some of that speed. So in this case, I think I'll say a minimum speed of 10. And in this case, it looks like we can do well with this Nox. This heavy arm, interesting. So don't really give up a lot of mass for a considerably better arm. Wow, that's really interesting. So it's the heatsink that really kills that one. We can actually make a pretty zippy little little mech. Let's give it a gun, and then the real question here is like, what? So now that I've got 13 speed, like, what do I want to do with this thing? There is some attraction in terms of a more mobile machine gunner. So let's just take a look at the damage that we can do. I think if I hit control, I can get a damage per second. Yeah, so let's... Oh, that's interesting. So apparently this Hurricane is has a better damage per second. Okay, so, I mean, this is apparently a pretty respectable machine gun. So, I've never really tried a highly mobile, well, highly mobile. It's 13 speed. Like, that's probably an average speed, if I'm completely honest. But, I don't know. I think I'll work with this. Okay, we also got to come up with names. So let's call... Oh. Call this the Bull, and we'll call this the... Lance is already taken. We'll call it the Ray. So I have the option of building more if I want, but in this case here we've got 4 that we can work with. Troublemakers, your contact in the Home Army said that while the Home Army is busy with a battalion elsewhere, they don't have enough mechs on the ground to deal with the pesky fire team. We're on top of them now, an engineer shouts from the front of the base. What do you want to do, boss? A pilot asks. We're ready to fight if you are. So we'll suit up. I'm actually going to do a fairly bold cut to the... So I'll kill... Let me just double check that I've got this right. Yeah, so it's the Astra. So we'll kill this Astra. Not quite ready to get rid of these yet. We'll take out the level 1s. And I should probably start getting rid of... Well, no, hang on. Yeah. I want to try and be a little more aggressive on scrapping. So... Tango, and they will pilot the Ray. So it's definitely going to be a bit of a weird little squad. I've never really run anything like this, but we'll see how it turns out. And I'm wondering if this is always the setup. That's always going to be 2 tanks, 2 mechs. Definitely feels like it. Okay. So we have got a machine gun with a shield, autocannon. Okay, 2 machine gunners and all autocannon. So mechs will engage us at long range, tanks will engage us at short range. Overall, I should feel pretty safe in my position. But you know, a lot of this is going to depend on sort of where the attacks come from. So one thing I'm going to do here, this machine gunner's in a really good spot. If I can, I want to get these tanks taken out early. Particularly if the enemy units are going to be focusing on some of my own mechs. That's going to give me some nice opportunities to... That's going to give me some nice opportunities to sort of dodge the worst they have to offer. So I don't normally like doing this with my Sleipnir, but notice what happens to all the enemy attacks. There's a couple that wind up sort of getting some of my units that are moving sort of in between, but basically all the trajectories wind up going in front of buildings. So that gives us a really nice opportunity to sort of... So basically it clears a whole bunch of space for the rest of the squad to do its thing. So in this particular case, I want to make sure that I'm sort of out of range for the for this autocannon, and what I'll do is sort of get my machine. Okay, there's no way I'm going to be able to do a second one of those. Actually, yeah, we'll just stay put there. So shotgunner's kind of got to get into the... Okay. I think I gotta dash to make that happen. Well, I do, but I need to dash in a way that doesn't cause me to clobber my own guy. Oh god, does that work? No, I kind of closed the option as soon as I opened fire there. Okay, well that's fine. We'll just wait out the machine gun. Oh, no. Okay, well there's still a way of making that work. This is more the start of the attack, but I'll make it work. So I feel like there's more I should be doing with the Sleipnir, so what if I peek around the edge like... Okay, if I peek... Well, hang on. So yes, there may be some stray bullets that hit me, but I get a shot on that unit, and I think that makes it worth it. Okay, let's just make sure there's no collisions going on. Okay, that's good news there. This unit didn't take as much damage as I was hoping it would. This is a shotgun that's going to be kind of just doing its thing. So unfortunately, I kind of have to sit and take the short-range attack. There's not a lot that I can do about that. However, I'm going to be walking in front of an attack as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just move in. Basically just move in such a way that I get out of the range of the enemy attack. So, this is actually my more mobile machine gunner, so I should be willing to sort of zip them around the battlefield and take advantage of opportunities. So I wonder if I can get away with a second one. Not unless I want to lose my pilot. Okay, so it's clear that this unit's going to be able to get its shots. So in this case, we're just going to straight up ignore it and let the... Okay. Adjust the attack pattern a little bit. Well, maybe not. I probably should have just let it do its thing. Okay, and then with the Sleipnir, I actually have an opportunity here. So if I move them up like this, we get to add the enemy's firepower to our own. So it definitely took some damage off of that, and they are going to be opening up with their machine gun. So first thing we need to do is just put up the shield and then run like heck. Looks like the Sleipnir's not under attack anymore though, so we can move them into position and have our revenge. Looks like that still counts. And we kind of need to fight like our life depends on it for this particular unit, so... Finally, this unit's sort of stuck in its position, so... Sam, how you doing? You managed to write a poem, but nothing else, and it's only 8 lines. Well, I mean, I think definitely for poetry, it feels like... It definitely feels like that's one where the length is not... I mean, okay, so I love Paradise Lost. You know, like, clearly I do very much enjoy longer poems, but I definitely feel like poetry is one of those ones where length is not a major factor in terms of determining its quality. But yeah, I'm really glad you... Now, is that your first poem, or is that... Is that something you've wanted to do or is that something that you've been doing for a while and this is just your latest? Nice. Yeah, definitely overkill, but... You've been writing poems for a while? I did. I used to do them when I was quite young, but I really have lost. There's a couple of things that I feel like I've sort of lost the ability for. I liked drawing a lot when I was little, and unfortunately, that was a case where sort of people were unkind about what I wanted to do. So I like drawing sort of science fiction-ish sort of stuff, and people just kind of kept assuring me that was like not the right thing to do. And unfortunately, I hadn't sort of developed enough of my sense of self to sort of push back and say, well, who, you know, by what right, sir? And so in that case, I actually wound up, I sort of wound up giving up some, giving that up. And this is definitely a case where it's something that I wish I had the ability to draw, and it's been a very difficult one to sort of reconnect with, because you have that I'm still in that period of time where you have things that you want to draw, but you can't really realize them. And I know the way that I write, like, so I need to like relearn a lot of just the basic motor skills of like writing and things like that, because I've always had just a very cramped hand in terms of writing. So like I'm one of those people who like, you know, kind of lets the hand curl, and I don't write with my arm, and like all of that sort of stuff's really important for being able to draw properly. So I'm glad that you're still putting the effort in. Poetry is the other thing, but I didn't really lose touch with that because I was discouraged. It was just sort of, it wasn't something that I pursued as much. It's also not necessarily something that I felt as called to do. I'm actually published in a collection of poetry for whatever that counts, but it's nothing groundbreaking. I suspect that book is not, that anthology is not even available anymore. I might have a copy of it myself somewhere, but I do like writing. It's just generally more essays, and that's one thing that I definitely have been wanting to make more time for. But you know, work and streaming and all of those other things get in the way. But yeah, I'm really encouraged to see that you're kind of putting in the work, because that's kind of what it always comes down to, right? Like sometimes people will get lucky, and sometimes people will kind of catch a break, or they'll, you know, for whatever reason, there's just something that really works that first time. But I think for the most part, even if we're talking about creative subjects, it's a matter of just putting in the time and doing the work. It would be nice if it was a lot more mysterious than that, but it really does feel like, even for those people who it kind of seems like they just have automatically good ideas all of the time. Like the thing, again, I don't know what's inside their head, but there are very few times when those figures have kind of come up, and then you don't read, like, and you read a biography, and sure enough, there's, you know, all of that practice, there's all of that work that came in before. So it's like, yes, maybe, you know, maybe when you're like watching someone do their thing, it seems like it's an automatic reflex, but it's like that is definitely the product of having made the mistake, you know, 100 times before. So I'm really encouraged when people come back and say, hey, I did some work today, because that means that you're so much closer to achieving what you wanted. Okay, we've got 10 points left. Let's see if we can maximize our scrap. So we've got a 30, a 45. Well, that doesn't require much elaboration, does it? We can get 75 out of that. And apparently it's 5 when you have a battle site, so this is really going to take us a while to... Oh. So we'll heal... Well, no, we can speed... Oh, all right, here we go. We got a few things happening. So one thing I want to do is heal up. Okay, now we're ready to go there, so we'll rush into the fight. Take them out. You followed a distress signal put out by the home army to squash some enemy forces at this battle site. One of your pilots is jumpy. They mean business, Commander. They really want to win this war. Another shrugs. I reckon we can take him. What do you think, boss? Sorry, let's... Okay, yeah, it's probably going to be the same as last time. I probably should have equipped my my soldiers better, though. Sorry, I was so eager to run into the next encounter. I'm also a little conscious of the time, though. I do regret that it looks like we're probably not going to liberate the province this time around. But I do need to have a pretty hard cap at the 3-hour mark, and that's just a function of all the stuff I need to get done tonight. It is sort of an extra streaming day for me, so it's unfortunately that does mean I need to give some of that back in terms of getting what I need to done. Okay, so it seems to me like there's a couple of attacks here that are unavoidable, but what I can do is I can position myself in a way that I can sort of make the most of the opportunity. So for instance, here the enemy's going to hit their own units. and I get to open fire on them. And that's going to be sort of how we proceed this time around. In this case, I'm going to try and avoid fewer attacks, and what I'm going to try and do instead is well, he says as he avoids an attack. This one's a little more defensible though. Or is it? No, I can make this work. No, I can't. That is an optimal range. I don't like hiding like this, but going up against a machine gun, this one actually does kind of make sense. And more importantly, this does leave me the option of attacking. This does leave me the option of attacking after. Yeah, so I don't really like crossing the attack over into the rest of the turn, but I know I can walk behind that cover next. Yeah, I'm streaming because I really like doing Old World, and there may be something related to Old World that happens tomorrow that's giving me a reason to stream that on Wednesday. But of course, normally I do Brace Yourself games on Wednesday. And the one thing I don't want to do is have the fact that Old World, like I don't want Old World to become an excuse to miss out on doing more Brace Yourself stuff, particularly because, so I don't want to sound too crabby about it, but so I reached out to someone about a key for Stellaris Overlord. And the original response was, reach out after the DLC is released, and we'll get you sorted. So I was like, okay, that's very nice. That means that I'll be able to continue with the continue doing Stellaris, which is something that I've been doing since that game was released. And I don't want to sound ungrateful for the opportunity to have done so for such a long time, but the fact of the matter is Paradox has been getting very aggressive in terms of their viewership requirements to get a key. And in fact, there was one, I can actually say there's been one directly negative experience that I've had with one of their people who handles that, but I don't really want to focus on that. But in any case, I followed up. Haven't heard anything, followed up again, and I haven't heard anything again there, so I am a little worried that this might just be a signal that I'm not on the list anymore, or something has changed between being told, reach out and we'll get that set up. And again, like I said, there's two ways to react to that. There's one way to get really salty and entitled about it. The only thing I'm not happy about is that if something changed, I would have liked to at least been told as opposed to not getting a reply to emails. But what this will mean, if it truly is the case that I'm not getting a key for Stellaris anymore, that will mean that at that point I don't really feel beholden to continue a Paradox Monday broadcast. At that point, there will be no more sort of updated game, and they've gotten several years of me streaming games specifically on Monday. And of course, Hooded Horse and Brace Yourself have not behaved like Paradox. They've actually been incredibly open and generous with their keys and with their time. There's people like that who are stopping by the broadcast, and it's really fun to just have them present. And so, in addition to the fact that I think I do those games reasonably well, including Phantom Brigade, they're people who I'm really enthusiastic to support, and so I think that translates to better broadcasts. So with that in mind, now again, I don't, it's not that I'm not going to be like declaring an oath of enmity on Stellaris. Like if I can keep doing it, I'd love to keep doing it because I do very much enjoy Stellaris. But if this is the reality I'm working with, then that will mean that I will have more opportunities with both Brace Yourself and Hooded Horse games to do those on a more regular basis. And so I want to try and get that groundwork planted now, so that I can maybe do something like, both Phantom Brigade and Industries of Titan on, one day for each of those in the week, to have a nice long run through of a campaign of what was it, of Old World. And yeah, Noxcam, I do want to be careful about that, right? Like in the end, people are going to decide to give out keys like in accordance with their marketing plans. One thing that actually bothered me a little bit, so there was the one thing I feel a bit worse about, and I don't really like Twitch drama sort of stuff, so I'm not going to name names or that, but I do recall one very specific incident which didn't have anything to do with Paradox. But there was a broadcaster who I'd helped get in touch with someone. So they were somebody who like had kind of asked the questions like, you seem to be getting keys for games. Like, how do you do that? It's like, okay, well, here's how I approach that, instead of just, give game, I am big streamer, please. Like, explain who you are, why you want to do it, why you think it's a good fit. Like, give them a reason to say, yes, this is a good use of a key. And, I got them in touch with someone who I knew, and it was actually one of the Paradox contacts that I had to get them started. So what had happened was, at the time, I was above the minimum concurrent view requirement, but they were below it, and they'd sort of wound up on a whitelist, which essentially means that it's bypassed and they can do anything. Now, it seems that the people have changed, so I don't think anybody knows he's on this whitelist. But once Paradox started ratcheting up the requirements, I was missing out on stuff. So I sort of said to them, it's like, hey, I noticed that you've been doing some of the Stellaris stuff still. Like, could you tell me how you managed it? And like, they basically said, oh, I'm on a whitelist. I take everything that I've been given. But I said, it's like, oh, would you mind getting me in touch with whoever did that? Like, I'm really struggling to like keep doing the Stellaris stuff. And at that point, this sort of hemming and hawing was like, oh, I don't really, I don't really think that I can, I can recommend you to sell, like, you're too small. And I'm like, yes, of course, I did you this good turn, and why would I ever expect a hand on this one? Like, clearly. And I mean, again, like, there's other stuff that's kind of associated with that maybe didn't come as such a surprise. But you will actually see that broadcaster come in every once in a while when a developer retweets me. But yeah, that was really the only negative, because at that point it becomes very self-serving. So like, of course, if I were to come in with 100 concurrent views, all of a sudden they'll be my best friend again. And there are people like that, and it's a big shame that there are people like that. The fact that Paradox is putting a higher requirement for its streamers, like, there are people I know who do streaming for a living who basically say it's like Paradox is a very different company from when we got started. And in the end, right, it's up to them to decide what they want to get out of it. They seem to sort of feel like they're in a position to have a more concentrated number of larger streamers doing their games in a big burst when they first come out. And of course, my thing is more, I tend to be a little bit of a bottom feeder, that, when people have moved on to another game, they'll sort of funnel into me. And of course, the changes of the Twitch algorithm haven't necessarily made me look that good on paper either. So the fact of the matter is, if they've got a particular strategy and I don't fit with that strategy, I'm not owed anything, right? I've delivered the key. I've delivered the content. They've delivered the key. That's kind of how that exchange works. But given that there's now sort of an expectation that's been built that I'll be doing the latest version of a given game, It's kind of hard for me to say that this really justifies having a dedicated Paradox Day when the connection really isn't as strong as it used to be. But contrast that to Brace Yourself Games or Hooded Horse, who don't seem to have been worried about the fact that, on paper, I'm not that attractive of a streamer. Perhaps recognize that, as talkative as I am, it can be a gateway to getting into the game and maybe seeing how it works. One way or the other, this is a good fit, at least as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, it's kind of up to them to decide. And because these are people who've put a certain degree of faith in me, and because these are people who have, one, I really enjoy. So the first thing, of course, you have to enjoy to play the game. But number two, these are people who I want to see succeed and I want to see do very well. Clearly, I need to sort of live up to my own expectations and my own priorities and make sure that I am sort of rewarding that. And so that just means that I spend more time on the things that I enjoy, as opposed to, more time complaining about things that aren't working. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't let the Paradox comment go unchallenged there. I mean, everybody's going to have an opinion about Paradox, particularly with their DLC side of things. The only thing I don't feel good, there's the previous incident, which I don't really see a lot of value in talking about. This one here, the only thing I kind of feel hard done by about is the fact that I had a set of expectations, particularly about this week, but also about the next couple of weeks. Like I did basically an almost 8-hour Stellaris broadcast in anticipation of the fact I was going to be doing Overlord on Monday. Now that's 8 hours I really could have used for something else. 8 hours is a lot to take out of your day to do something. And obviously I didn't do Overlord on Monday because I didn't have a key for that. And it would have been nice at the very least to get an email saying, look, I'm sorry I did say one thing. That doesn't apply anymore. We can't give you a key for that. At the very least, I could have just continued on and, did the session on my own time. That's really the only thing I actually feel kind of bad about. But anyways, I hope you have a good evening, Oxkime. And I'm doing quite well, Crack Steve. I'm playing Phantom Brigade on an extra day, which is always a treat. And there's a lot that's been added in this update, although I've been kind of dragging my feet on liberating the province. But how have you been? Okay, that was quite a bit more damage than I thought I would be taking there. But are they here for the cargo? Security team, make sure they don't breach our defenses. I don't think there's cargo in this map. Okay, I gotta kind of keep track of who's an enemy and who's a friend. Okay, so eastern side's taken care of. We still have 2 mechs up, and this tank's fresh. Okay, so this is going to be a little tricky to deal with, but the good news, this is the... Oh, nope, this is the slow-moving one. This will actually be a bit of a pain to deal with. Okay, so I think the best I can hope for is to try and get behind some cover. Oh, that's not even gonna... It's really not gonna cover it. Okay, so next best I can do is to try and make life a little difficult for their aiming. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to get, basically this attack is coming in and it's gonna hurt me no matter what. So what I want to do in response is to take advantage of the fact that this unit might have its back turned to me. So in this case, we'll just sort of take the opportunity that's been given, we'll do the damage that we can, and then we'll kind of see what we can... We'll basically kind of see what's left over to clean up. Okay, so they're going to attack me here. So in this case, I want to make sure that I'm still protected. Yeah, so I think everybody's just going to pile on this unit. And then I have a spare machine gun. Okay, actually there's one opportunity here, so... I don't think I can get away with a sec... Yeah, not without overheating, but... it'll give me something to work with. Nice. So, obviously took some damage there, but nothing catastrophic. Okay, so this unit's going to... Actually, I'm going to try and make life a little more difficult for the... Nah, you know what, it's not worth it. I think I'll just move this unit back at this point. Shotgunner's got to... This is going to be a bit of a weird move, but I think I can make this work. Okay, so this unit, I need to move them into a slightly better position. So the question is, who's the bigger threat? Okay, yeah, no, I can see how I can make this work. So I'm assuming, yeah, I don't have an opportunity here. So the last question is, what do I do with my Sleipnir now? I think in this case here, I'm going to prioritize taking out this tank, assuming I can get the angles to work. And that's just to prevent the the damage that this unit could potentially take. So we'll hold the line, and then we'll kind of run around the edge like this. Okay, so we'll see whether or not we can pull this off. What's the amazing show? I know most of the time I haven't seen the stuff that you talk about, but that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in it, Crack Steve. Okay, good. So probably a little overkill on this end, but... Okay, so they're going to direct their attention to the tank, which is a little bit of a concern. I think the best way to handle that, though, is to just do as much damage as possible and take them out before they can do enough damage to the ally. Okay, this should probably take it over. The Disney show Amphibia, and the animation popped off hard. The last few minutes had you ugly crying. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I've pretty much... I don't think I've had any... don't think I've seen any TV of note lately. Okay, obviously that was overkill on the last round, but sometimes it's nice to work out your frustrations that way. So at this point, let's just try and maximize the scrap we get. Now, I believe it's 10 no matter what I take, so in this case, we're just looking for the big numbers. So I've got a pair of 35s, it looks like. I've got a Yeah, it looks like 35 and 30 is the best I can work with, so... Oop, that brings me over. So we'll just leave 5 on the table. Okay, so there's probably going to be quite a bit in terms of repairs that I need. Also, I did sort of neglect my my upgrades previously, so we're gonna wait for the repairs to finish off. We'll do our upgrades, kind of 2 battles worth, and then we'll charge into the workshop cache. Okay, everybody's healed up. We'll do our usual routine of checking out everything. Now, I may not. I suspect here that the little white tags may not actually mean as much as they used to, because I have sort of 2 rounds worth of upgrades that I missed. But I'm going to take a quick second here and make sure that everything is the way that everything's kind of the way I want it. So we can get a little more. So I don't think heat dissipation's really the big problem on this one. Heat capacity maybe, but. So let's go for these lighter legs. The right arm is the priority for me here. So this Nox does give me better mass and heat dissipation. So actually in this case here, this arm makes a lot of sense because the left-hand side isn't as important. So this is a better overall handgun, slightly shorter range, but... And then I'm assuming... Yeah, we'll live with the existing. So again, I'm not 100% sure about this burst, but I'm gonna... On paper it works, so I'm gonna keep working with that. Okay. So I don't think this is going to... Oh yes, actually, sorry. There is one other thing I want to do with the Sleipnir. So right now that moves at 21. That's probably a little bit more than I actually need. So I can give up a little bit of power in exchange for heat capacity. So we're currently at 85. I can get a big loss in heat dissipation. I'm actually going to try this launch core, I think. So it's not that much of a speed. Actually, you know what? Down to 17? Let's try that. It's pretty good heat dissipation still, so I think I'm going to be able to put out some more damage with this Sleipnir. Sorry, there should be some other upgrades I can do as well. Thrusters... Okay, so currently we've got endurance thrusters. I think I'll live with the existing thrusters. I'm probably going to need to put some serious thought in terms of the types of thrusters I get, but... Okay. So one of the things that makes this a little bit difficult now is that I've got different cores to sort of mess with. And that can change the calculation a little bit. So for instance, this thing's got a very high dissipation. The core that I have right now is a launch core, so it's 100 heat capacity. So basically it's good... like I'm giving up some heat dissipation in order to achieve this. On its own, if I were to switch out this body... So we go down to 1147. But then this gets quite a bit higher. Okay, so if I compare... Yeah, this does actually seem a little bit better here. Okay, passive heatsink I can live with. I am giving up quite a bit of heat dissipation on this, which worries me, but we've only been able to really fire this shotgun once anyway, so... this is a hollow... Well, the hollowed plating actually kind of makes sense here. I think that arm makes sense. Don't want to give up the shield, and then unless we've got a better shotgun. Okay, yeah. So the lance obviously looks very different from what it used to. I'm also kind of curious what its weight status looks like now. I think I probably turned it into a little less meaty of a mech. That's fine. I'll just stop charging into stuff. But what, of course, becomes interesting now is I can start thinking about some of these other mechs and seeing if there's other improvements that I can make to them. So, for instance, here, well, this is a medium body, so I don't want to lose too much of the weight on the bull. But let's see if I can make this work. So we'll start by giving this the Elbrus body. Sorry, there is one other thing I want to check with the lance. Okay, so we've gotten the core taken care of. Passive heatsink makes sense. We can go for a reactor or the hydraulics. I think I'm okay there. Defensive subsystems make sense. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Lower body. Okay, so we would give up both weight and integrity for these, so that doesn't make sense. No change to these arms, it looks like. Well, this one's worse. Left slot, we don't want to give it the handgun, and right slot, unless we've got a better machine gun, which we do. We've got the turret. Okay. So then we take a second here and say, okay, do I want to mess around with any of my... Okay, so I can give up some heat capacity. Let's try this overdrive core. So it is going to mess with my heat capacity, but it is going to give me that mobility. So we're now up to 1095 on this thing. And I believe we should still count as a heavy mech here. Yes. Okay, this is good. If I had a passive heatsink, I'd feel better about that, but I don't, so I'm going to work with what I've been given here. And then finally the ray. The ray at the minimum can get some hand-me-downs. So I haven't quite decided about this body yet. Oh yeah, actually, if I put this body on, I don't get to change the internals in terms of the power and such. So, am I happy with a standard core, or do I want something else? Let's try a launch core in this one. Make it a little faster. I don't see a lot of value in a range sensor on the left-hand weapon, so at minimum I want to go on the right. So targeting increases the range on the right weapon while reducing scatter. Well, let's take a look at the... So I've got a turret or a hurricane. Hurricane does more damage. Okay. So we can improve the accuracy, or we can... I don't really move a lot with this, so we'll do the range sensor. Okay, these are objectively better legs. This is the same arm. Yeah, so no real changes there. Let's pistol isn't anything special. Okay, cool. So, and then for inventory, again, I'm trying to keep kind of ruthless in terms of all the parts. So, let's say. I still want to keep the burst. Yeah, I'll keep these Well, yeah, I'll keep the shotguns just for the option. I'm probably not going to do that much with it. Although, I am going to take a quick look at the subsystems now. I don't... Well, let's not say never. I'm probably going to have to start scrapping some of these at some point, but I don't think that time has quite come. We are, however, going to take a look at some base upgrades, so we've definitely got some things to play around with. I believe I had one item... So yes, I think it was the expanded reactor. So I just want to double check... So, unlocked advanced capabilities at the expense of increasing reactor sensor signature. So, I think the way I'm going to handle this is I'm going to do what I've normally been doing, which is to go stealth as long as I can, and then we just charge in. So in this case, I am willing to spend the components for the better reactor. So we've got rapid ignition, replace the ignition system, reducing the regeneration delay after the energy is drained. We've got auxiliary capacitors. With the power core expanded, it's possible to expand the energy storage capacity. Up to 3 auxiliary capacitors can be installed. And improve generation, wrap the reactor in additional heat exchange loops, capturing more heat and speeding up power generation. The expanded design can support up to 3 additional loops. So this would be, seems to make sense to me to have improved generation first and then do the capacitors. But yeah, in this case, we're going to go for as much energy as we can. I don't think I'm going to do the expanded storage. I may change my mind on that, but for now, I'm okay not worrying about that. And the reason why I'm boosting my overdrive sensors off the top. So basically, the big reason why the reason why I did the upgrades the way that I did. First of all, the energy is going to give me extended time in the state that I want to be in. So that's going to mean that with a higher, oh, actually, sorry, I should have paid a little more. Yeah, I shouldn't have done this one, actually. So energy regeneration is nice and all, but I actually needed the storage capacity, not the regeneration. That's fine. I mean, it's 200 supplies I lost. That's not nothing, but it's not the end of the world either. I definitely would have preferred to do the auxiliaries though. But yeah, so the idea here is to actually try and improve my overall capacity for energy. And that's basically so that I can go into stealth as long as possible and then just close that final gap with the overdrive. Now, between targets, I'm usually going to be on overdrive, and so that's why I've put the overdrive sensing as the higher priority. And that's just so I can have a nice big wide range, and then when I need to, when I need to go back to stealth mode in that, I'm a little bit more. I'm a little less aware of what's going on, but it's a trade-off I'm sort of willing to make. I kind of go between the extremes, I tend to notice, for these things. And that's basically going to be how I wind up building the base for a little while. I actually quite like the fact that I'm making certain decisions and that I'm going to see my overall, the overall state of my base is going to affect my ability to work on the overworld. But it is the 3-hour mark, so I did want to do a little bit more combat. I will at least charge my battery to the last level. But like I said, I do want to be a bit careful in terms of how I am using my time. And that's particularly because this week I have quite a bit ahead of me. So I am quite impressed with the update. Again, I know I know it's taking me a while to do the liberation. The one thing I will say is it definitely feels like, even though this is like the tutorial liberation, it does feel like it will take a while. But that's fine. I mean, I've got a province to run all over, and we'll see how it all turns out. But that's maybe my only comment in terms of how this is all turned out. We'll see once we liberate the region. We'll see what the suggested levels are. I wonder if it just becomes sort of an even calculation for all the adjacent provinces. We'll see, but we'll figure that out. And then, as a kind of a word for what's coming up in the upcoming week. So my intention is to do some more Old World. I will probably do that tomorrow, but no guarantees. My Thursday is when Old World is properly released. Now, Mohawk Games is going to be doing a special stream on their channel for that. So if it turns out that it winds up being sort of around my time, I don't see a lot of value in streaming on Thursday. But if it happens that, there's maybe an opportunity there, I am willing to entertain the possibility. Keep in mind that will mean that I basically streamed every day of the week. But then again, there are special events, and of course there's Phantom Brigade that came out as well. So this has been a pretty full week. But all things being equal, Friday is a normal streaming day for me. I will probably do Old World because Friday's sort of a free day anyway. I will also allow myself the possibility of doing Phantom Brigade because I like that. I like the game, and just because I'm doing it today doesn't mean that there has to be, only one game. I mean, I could do Industries of Titan as well. The whole point of having sort of Friday as a free day is, is to be able to do what I want. But given what happened with Old World on Monday, I have a feeling that there's probably going to be some unfinished business, and it will probably be a little bit better for me to get that dealt with like at the time. Whereas Phantom Brigade, obviously, we've just kind of started a new campaign, and there's kind of that persistency between updates. So there isn't quite the same urgency to get through everything as quickly as possible. So that's kind of a rough sketch in terms of how the week is going to go. And I appreciate those of you who who like Phantom Brigade. I appreciate you being patient with me in terms of I appreciate you bearing with me on a an unusual streaming day, but it is Tactical Tuesday, so hard to say it's not on brand. Just maybe to manage expectations as well. I suspect next week I'm going to want to go back to my usual schedule. It is definitely difficult for me to do sustain the nice guy act for 5 days a week. So I will probably be back to just Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's also true that on the weekend, I've got a lot of stuff that I need to record. So I'm probably going to need to take that weekend to sort of just recharge and get on top of things. But I appreciate you hanging out with me for the time that we had today, and I hope you got an idea of what the new update is like. So I'm just going to take a second here and see if I can find someone to host. I know it's a little bit of a thinner audience tonight. Let's start by seeing if anybody's streaming Phantom Brigade. Nope, just me. How about Industries of Titan? Nope. Well, It Is D-Pain was kind enough to host me yesterday after a cooking stream, and It Is D-Pain has been going through the Dark Souls series. I believe they are doing their first playthrough of Dark Souls 2, so let's change things up a little bit. I'm going to pass you on to that good man. Again, my suspicion is tomorrow some Old World, Thursday probably some Old World, and Friday probably some Old World. But no promises, and of course, especially for the Thursdays and that, I am not 100% sure whether or not I'm going to have enough gas in the tank to go for it. But as always, I'll announce that stuff on Twitter. I hope you had a good time with Phantom Brigade. I will see you, well, I guess in a week if you're here for Phantom Brigade. Well, a week and a day if you're here for Phantom Brigade. If you're here for me and strategy, sometime later in the week. And if you're just hanging out for the sake of it, I'll maybe see you in the future. Take care. Have a good one.